oh, somebody opened a line of credit in your name, but it wasn't you, so we denied it. No, we can't trust anybody. You have to take matters in your own hands, monitor your own credit, freeze your own credit, and just really watch that your own self.
Welcome to the Teacher Money Show, the podcast dedicated to helping teachers navigate your unique financial challenges and unlock your financial superpowers. I'm your host, Sean Morgan, a full-time educator and personal financial coach and speaker, and I'm here to help every teacher, whether you're a seasoned teacher looking for fresh insights or a new educator navigating your first paycheck, to have a richer wallet, classroom, and life. If you missed my free training, A Teacher's Financial PEMDAS for Guaranteed Success, well, you're in luck. I'll be hosting another one on October 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you go to teachermoneyshow.com/webinar, you can sign up there. Please invite a teacher friend to come with you. I look forward to seeing you. I'm super excited to have Marc Jenkins on the show today. Marc is a veteran teacher with a keen eye for personal finance. He reached out about a discrepancy on a previous podcast, and we got to talking, and he's got some great ideas, some insightful wisdom that he's shared with young educators in his school. And as we started talking, we decided that we wanted to try a different kind of episode format for you guys today. We're going to call it a lunch and learn. It's going to be a quick hit on a topic that we feel like people need to know more about, and we're going to record it in the amount of time that you are on a lunch break. 30 minutes is going to be the maximum, but I know your lunch break might be 15 if you're in some of those districts that just go, go, go. So we're going to keep this short and to the point. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Tremendous honor to be on your show.
So, Marc, we're going to talk about credit today because credit is kind of mysterious, something that you have to really dive into to kind of understand what it is. So let's start with, what is credit? Why do you need it? Let's talk about it.
I
Let's start with
sort of
you.
feel I sort of feel like you're right. I feel like sometimes we're undereducated about credit and its impacts everywhere. A lot of times, credit that impacts the interest rate at which you can borrow money. I think that's important for home loans, auto loans. It impacts whether or not a property management company perhaps will take you on as a landlord towards you renting from them. And I think people often don't realize that your auto insurance has an insurance score and factored among on-time payments, how many claims you have, things like that. Your credit score is also part of your um, um, insurance score. So I think it's important to know that. But I feel like people need to know that credit is like a traveling report card. It goes with you digitally. It is for potential lenders to see if you're a high risk borrower or a low risk borrower. And it just measures if you've been holding up your end of a borrowing contract. Might be a credit card. Did you pay on time payments? Did you pay in full each month? Might be a home loan. Did you pay the bank or credit union on time every month? And even auto loans. Are you paying Chevy? Are you paying Ford? And it's just sort of a report card. Are you holding up your end of the borrowing contract?
Yeah, I love that. So the report card aspect of it, because like as you were saying, we have this credit, and it's like how credible are you is basically what it's saying, right? And when you are asking for credit from like an auto dealership or from a mortgage company or from a credit card company, they are saying we're going to give you this money in advance, and you are going to pay us back plus a little bit of extra. So you need to be credible, someone that they can trust to do that. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. You need one in this world to kind of function. I mean, like it's possible to live completely without, credit cards, completely without a mortgage, completely without a car loan. But it's really difficult, right? And if you don't have the credit, it can make getting any of those types of things extremely hard. So just to kind of function in our digital world. That's a very important piece.
And I think starting early is also important because I've read where 20% of young adults have a thin credit file or no credit file. So here we are trying to get our first home, and you just got your first credit card in college. You don't have you don't have but a thin credit file. So that's something that you have to think of a little bit early.
Yeah. Okay. So there are two terms that come out when we talk about credit and like monitoring your credit and like looking at your credit and things like that, there's the credit score and the credit report. What's the difference between those two things?
Well, your credit score, that's going to be things that are super important to a creditor, such as payment history. I think a third of your credit score is made up as credit card usage. And so your credit utilization is important because there's two thresholds that you want to sort of tackle as you're going through it. The first one is a 30% credit utilization. So as you are looking at a $10,000 credit line with maybe two credit cards, you want to make sure that you're not borrowing each month and utilizing more than 30%. If you're borrowing 6,000 of your $10,000 available credit, then that's going to be frowned upon and your credit score is going to reflect that. If you could keep that, the first threshold is below 30%. Maybe you have your $10,000 credit line and you're spending 3,000 or less per month. You're going to get a nice bump in your credit score for being responsible with your $10,000 credit line. And if you can even get that down sub 10%, and you will get an even bigger bump in your credit score just due to those factors of credit utilization being about 30% of your entire credit score. So that's something that's important on there too. Derogatory remarks, that'll be on your credit score. Credit age, again, these younger kids are having trouble because you've only had credit for a year or two. And there's a little known help on that where you can put a child, you could any adult really, if you have a good credit score your own self, you could actually start your children as an authorized user on your credit card at even 13, and they can start at least building their credit score. You don't have to give them the credit card itself. They just happen to be piggybacking off of your good credit, your on-time payments, and your low credit utilization. So it just starts that clock ticking for that credit age.
Yeah, so I love those little tips. Another tip that I loved that you shared with me is if you make your payment 5 days before the bill, it'll lower your credit utilization, and that's usually when they're looking. So that way you can like not trick them, but like be like, yeah, I'm keeping it low, and so that way you're signaling to them, yes, I'm trustworthy. I'm not using too much, and I think that that's huge. And then another factor that's impacted me a lot is those inquiries, right? I've requested a number of credit lines for real estate purposes, and because I've done that a lot over years, they are like, you've requested credit a few too many times, right? And that can be another thing that can impact you. So if you go start clicking, I want all these credit cards, that can drop your score and that can actually impact the rate you're going to get for those credit cards or whether or not you're even going to be accepted by those. Specifically, I want to ask, what is the score used for? Like, why do we have this score?
I think they have different measurements that they're going to use, and that's going to be based on maybe a sub 700. You're going to get a higher borrowing rate, and then if you could get your score north of sometimes some people say 740, 760 is certainly safe. If you were north of 760, you're going to get better rates, and the best rates are going to be north of 780 credit score. Some people want to get that perfect credit score of 850, and that's just not necessary. Once you are north of 780, it's all the same. You're getting the lowest possible borrowing rate because you're such a low risk borrower. So those credit scores matter when it comes to your interest rate.
Yeah, so uh, this is one of the things that just bothers me about credit scores is how like arbitrary it is. 850 is the highest, 350 is the lowest. Who knows why? I'm not sure if the people that even made it know why. But it's just kind of an arbitrary range there, and the vast majority of that range is bad credit. Like you want to be in that like top 100 points to even be considered good credit in any stretch of the imagination to get those rates you want. And then you talked about it being kind of like a report card. And like when you look at a report card and you see FFFFF, you kind of have an idea about what kind of student you're going to be getting and the kind of work you're going to have to help a student succeed. If you see AAAA, you say, oh, well, this student is probably a hard worker or focuses in class. Or like you can just kind of get a quick snapshot. And with all these people offering credit, they don't have the time to get to know the student, right? To have a personal relationship with the student. Like, maybe that F student is a great kid. He just isn't turning in work because of, something happening at home or whatever. They don't do that. They just look at the quick, score. And that's something to keep in mind, that you are keeping the score up, because that's one of the number one things they're using when they are making that decision, because that's basically all they have to go on.
It's absolutely a snapshot in time of your credit worthiness. So it really is as quick as they can get it done.
Okay, now how is that different than a credit report?
So a credit report, when you get a credit report, that's not really going to have the same payment history and credit card usage and those percentages on there. Credit report is going to have more personal information, such as your name, current address, and things like that that you can make sure you correct with your social security number, your date of birth. One of the big parts is credit accounts. So there'll be information on all your borrowing accounts, your credit cards, your auto loans, your mortgages, and all that'll be on a credit report. So if there's an outstanding mortgage, maybe, or a student loan that you paid in full, and that's misrepresented on a credit report, you get to talk about that and try to get that corrected on your report. Public records, I think, are important on a credit report, because if you have bankruptcies, foreclosures, tax liens, those sorts of things, that's something that you want to make sure, if you got those cleaned up, that those are off of your credit report, because those are things that are bogging your credit score down. All those collection accounts with debt collectors and those sorts of things. So that's more of a comprehensive report rather than the credit score, which is more of a snapshot of just more of the nuts and bolts of the borrowing.
Yeah, and the score is like kind of subjective, because there's those three major bureaus, right? The Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And I'm so happy I was able to say them off the top of my head just now.
Yeah.
But like, I swear, I looked at one credit score and I was like 767 or something like that. And then I was like, great, and I applied for something, and then like, oh, you're actually at like, 714. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I just looked at that, and this was a while ago, but like on one of the bureaus, the one that this person happened to be looking at, I was, more than 50 basis points lower. And it's just like, how does that even, like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's kind of a subjective thing depending on each bureau, what they kind of want to emphasize or de-emphasize. But the report is going to be essentially the same, because it's just like a track of, this is what happened in your life. You borrowed this, you borrowed that, but the report is kind of what they're basing the score off of. So that's what you want to be checking regularly to make sure there's nothing wrong on it. I looked at my credit report because of being lower on my credit score, and found out that I had a collection out for a utility bill that I was contesting. And I'm like, wait a minute, why am I in collections? I've been in communication with you guys where I'm contesting this bill, but they just threw it in collection. So I had to then start the process of removing that, and it was a whole ordeal. But like, they'll just do things like that. Like, companies will just throw you in collections without any warning, and that kind of thing shows up on your report. And that's when you can be like, no, no, that's not right, and you can fix it. But if you don't ever look, you can't fix it. So that brings us to monitoring. Why do we monitor our credit? How do we do it? What does that look like?
There's a couple apps that are real popular. Credit Sesame is one that I don't use. I know that one works for many people, but I feel like the most popular one is Credit Karma. The Credit Karma app is free. It tracks two of the credit bureaus, TransUnion and Equifax. But what I like is when you tap on either TransUnion or Equifax in your Credit Karma app, um, you get this kind of red light, yellow light, green light system where you can look at the high impact factors in your credit, and it'll tell you if you're green, yellow, or red. And then you can look at the medium impact and then the low impact issues that are red, yellow, and green lighted for you, so that you can sort of target your or streamline your focus on getting that credit score up. Additionally, Credit Karma also adds odds for credit card approval. That's one of the reasons it's free, is because then if you say, "Oh, it says here I have high odds to get such and such credit card. I've been looking at getting a points or a flight credit card." When you click on that link, they get a kickback for that. So that's how it stays free. But those are different ways that you can use Credit Karma, and it's really a comprehensive app, really, other than just looking at your credit score. But you get to monitor that. Hey, how come my credit score dropped 25 points? And you're looking, oh, my threshold went up to 35% credit utilization. Now I know why it went down. I'm going to have to focus on that this next month. And it sort of allows you to sort of take more ownership in your own credit score and your own monthly spending.
Yeah. So how often are you checking your credit, just out of curiosity?
If I pull up Credit Karma, if I pull the alerts off because they were coming up a little too often, but maybe once a month. I
Yeah.
just don't need it more than once a month. I just don't.
Yeah, I say once a month, once a quarter. They send me emails infrequently, so I'll occasionally just be like, oh yeah, I've got time to just send me an email, I'll check it, right? It's not something you're doing daily, okay?
It certainly
Unless you're
isn't.
like really focusing on your credit, you can maybe check a bit more often than once a month. But it's just something to make sure like, hey, my credit's where it needs to be, great, move on. But if it dropped, you have to figure out why. Or if there's some sort of issue, you're gonna figure out why. And I love Credit Karma. I personally use Credit Karma. I also use it in a conjunction with Experian, has their own free monitoring thing, so you can see all three of them between Credit Karma and just logging in through Experian. So I was just using Experian, and then I learned that if my score is high in Experian, it doesn't mean it's high somewhere else. So I think being able to have a window into each of the three is really important. So that way you can know where you are on all three of them at any given time, because this car dealership might pull from TransUnion, and that one might pull from Equifax, and that one might pull from Experian, or wherever, whatever you're trying to do with your credit.
And I think it's important for all of us to know that you do have several FICO scores. So it just depends maybe what time of day you pull, or what credit pull they have that day, or which branch, which credit bureau pulled it. But you do have several FICO scores. But want to make it known to all of us that you don't want to pay for credit monitoring through the three credit bureaus when you can get Credit Karma for free. So that's just a little side note.
All right. Last thing that we want to just cover here when we're discussing credit on a high level, of course, there's a lot more you can know about credit. You can get into the granular percentage details and, the how can I, raise my score in these different tips and tricks and all this stuff. We're not doing that right now. We just want to, pull the mask away a little bit, peel back the curtain on understanding the basics of credit with this. And that last piece is a credit freeze. Why would somebody need a credit freeze? When do you need a credit freeze? What does this look like?
I feel like a credit freeze might be the most important topic we've discussed tonight, because this is an issue where when you freeze your credit, you are going to the three major credit bureaus and you can set up your account. You have your username, your password, and you get to determine when is your credit open for a potential lender to investigate. So you don't want anyone else who maybe hacked the system and hacked your credit card, and now they have your social security number, and they're going to open up a line of credit in your name. Maybe at Best Buy, maybe they even want to open a home loan or a car loan. They can't do it if you have frozen your credit. So this is not a credit lock. This is a credit freeze, and it's free. With all three bureaus, it takes maybe 5 minutes to unlock and thaw each bureau when you want to open a line of credit. So you say, listen, I'm going to get a car this month. Let me open it for this particular week when I'll be hitting two or three dealers and they can run their numbers. But other than that, there's not one reason to keep your credit thawed during the regular year when you are not accessing a line of credit through a lender. So you don't want anyone opening a line of credit. And again, it's free, it's simple. And when you're ready to get a new credit card, when you're ready to buy a car, then you get to thaw your credit for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. You can do whatever you want, and it automatically goes back to frozen and keeps all the crooks away.
So, are you saying that the only way to do this is to go into TransUnion, into Equifax, into Experience, and tell them I want to freeze, this particular bureau's credit, this particular bureau's credit, and like there's no like you can't do that on Credit Karma, for example. Just to
Correct.
clarify.
So you would go to each bureau. You'll set up, they have different criteria for the passwords, but you would definitely set up at each of the three bureaus. And again, in under 15 minutes, you have now protected yourself from anyone else opening a new line of credit. So that's just super important when somebody decides that they want to buy a car in your name and you're getting the bill for that. And it's just super, super simple to thaw when you're ready and it's on your terms. So I just think it's important for people to understand that if somebody has your social security number, they really are halfway home to doing kind of what they want, unless you have frozen your credit and they're like, okay, I can't really access any of that.
Yeah. Okay. There's one more thing that I forgot, and we've got 10 more minutes still in our lunch and learn here, so I wanted to make sure we hit this. And that is when we're talking about monitoring our credit and the credit report, the best place to get that is going to annualcreditreport.com, which is where you can just pull your credit report from each of the three bureaus. Annually is required by law. I believe currently there are still COVID like things in place that allow you to pull it weekly without any repercussions. But just check that. Do you have anything to add about looking at your credit report?
I just think a good strategy utilizing that once annually would be if there's three credit bureaus, then every 4 months you could pull an annual credit report from Experian. 4 months later, pull it from TransUnion, right? And you can get it that way throughout the year, and you could sort of get that report and just see kind of what's going on behind the scenes. I cleaned this up. Did it get reported properly? And you could help clean that up that way instead of hitting all three bureaus in the same one fell swoop. So that would just
Yeah,
be a nice strategy.
I love that strategy because it keeps your tabs on it. So just set a reminder, right? Every 4 months, email yourself or have it pop up on your phone or whatever and say, hey, check Experian, check Equifax, whatever, and just have that as a rotating thing. I think doing that and freezing your credit are just like the basic safety features on your credit, keeping your credit safe and making sure that you don't have anything that's not supposed to be there on your credit report and no one that's going to be able to put something there that you don't want there.
I just don't think we should trust any of the companies, even the credit bureaus, to say, oh, somebody opened a line of credit in your name, but it wasn't you, so we denied it. No, we can't trust anybody. You have to take matters in your own hands, monitor your own credit, freeze your own credit, and just really watch that your own self so that you guys don't, we don't, none of us really have issues to worry about from trying to clean that mess up.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, let's wrap this up. Like I said, guys, a nice short episode. Mark is not here representing a brand or anything like that. Uh, but Mark, do you have a way people can contact you if they want to ask you a question?
I just, right now I'm not really on social media. I think a lot of teachers really sort of stay away from that a little bit. That can get dangerous certain at times. I don't have any financial company or anything. So I'm just reached at cmjenkins534 at gmail.com. And I'll answer any kind of credit questions or other personal finance questions as well. I like to help new learners who 20 somethings who are just heading into adulthood, make sure they don't have trip ups, and just see if we can help them get started, not behind the eight ball.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all my guests, but I'm going to make it specific for our lunch and learn here. What is your number one tip for teachers to have a richer wallet classroom in life when it comes to credit?
Oh, when it comes to credit, I just think, again, I feel like we are undereducated about it. So I think if my tip to you could be anything, focus on getting that north of 740 and utilize Credit Karma and the red light, green light system to see if you can really, bump that up to help you in your future borrowing.
Fantastic. Thank you all for listening to the show. Wow, wasn't that a fun little show? Just a nice little quick hit on credit. We've only got a couple minutes left before that 30-minute mark. So I just want to remind you that you can use Credit Karma to monitor your credit score and just make sure you know where your credit score is. Then check your annual credit report often. and once every 4 months. That way you can hit each of the three major credit bureaus once a year. And of course, I think this is the most important tip: freeze your credit when you are not using it. These three things are the basics of getting your credit right. Now, Mark and I were talking after the show, and we would both love some feedback on this format of podcast. Did you enjoy this shorter, quick hit, this lunch and learn? Please send an email to Shaun, SHAUN, at teachermoneyshow.com and let me know what you think. Should have gone to teachermoneyshow.com. He'll help you to know finance so your money won't be gone. He helps teachers to keep more of their hard-earned dough. So you had better subscribe to the Teacher Money Show. If you would like help on your personal financial situation, go to teachermoneyshow.com/coaching and you'll be able to find different ways that I can help you there. If you would like to participate in spreading this message of financial empowerment to teachers, I would encourage you to talk to your administrator or to your district level about going to SeanKMorgan.com to find more information there. And regardless of which one of those you need, please like and subscribe so that way we can spread the reach of this more. Leave a 5-star rating and review. That's going to help more teachers find this, and then turn around and tell a teacher friend. I really appreciate it. Contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither I nor my guests are engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should not act upon this information without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional.